भारत माता की भारत माता की भारत माता की
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening. You're watching the News Night and I'm Deepti Sachdeva. Tonight you have a seismic US intelligence warning. That is that China has been named India's top threat. China, ladies and gentlemen, is enemy number one. And Pakistan, the nuclear aim proxy, is just one of the other threats that India is dealing with. Now, this is a DI report that is accusing Beijing of arming Islamabad with advanced WMDs. Now, what are WMDs? These are weapons of mass destruction. And this is forging a two-front menace that is aimed squarely at India. While Chinese troops, remember they eye the Himalayas, their partner is sharpening what many are saying is a nuclear blade. And we've seen that aggression by Pakistan, though time and again, Pakistan and its nuclear blackmail has been called by India. From the Defense Intelligence Agency, that is the DIA, you have Pentagon's premier threat assessor. This isn't just speculation now, because this is a serious alert. And this is not even India saying this. This is the US reinforcing what India and many people across the globe have been saying for a long time now. A covert escalation, a global blind eye. Is India, ladies and gentlemen, on the brink of a two-front nuclear crisis? What do you think? We are breaking down that classified revelation. We'll take you that entire document point by point, expert insight, and what India must do right now before it gets late. So China is enemy number one, and that is America's big truth bomb. Let me quickly say good evening to our panel of guests joining us. It's a pleasure to have Veena Sikri, who's a former diplomat with us. Dr. Brahma Chalani is a strategic affairs expert. Also, Lieutenant General S. N. Narasimhan is a defense analyst. He's been an infantry officer. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time, and Veena ma'am. But first up, let's quickly get you our straight questions, because these are questions that we will try to look at answers for. What is our first straight question? The first big obvious straight question is Pakistan now China's nuclear proxy. Has that been established? This brings us to our second straight question that's going to go up on your screens. And that reads, how dangerous are China-backed Pakistani nukes? The world would also want to know this. Let's bring our third straight question now. That is going to go up on your screens. And that reads that why exactly is China India's top threat? What really has gone behind this entire report that I do hold in my hands? A report that is calling out Pakistan's bluff yet again. The fourth straight question, India's response to China-Pakistan front. What should be that response? Is there already a response being discussed? And what should it entail? This brings us to our fifth straight question, ladies and gentlemen. How long will China's WMD, that is the weapons of mass destruction, and that particular game go unchecked? These are very important and very legitimate questions that we must ask. Let's quickly get in first. Lieutenant General S. N. Narasimhan. General, why don't you tell us first up, why could the US now be reinforcing the fact that yes, China is really the enemy number one? I mean, do you believe that there is enough and more evidence right now pointing towards the fact, and we have details of this US intel report already up on our screens, that Beijing is the real dragon in the room?
Good evening, and thank you for getting me on a show, Deepti. And this is not anything new. And in fact, it has been reinforced time and again that this is the case. And if you take your mind back, China supporting Pakistan was to actually to create a balance against India. And when India went nuclear, China actually helped Pakistan to get the nuclear capability. And that is a known thing. There's nothing very secretive about it at all. So if you put two and two together, it's a very clear indication that China helped Pakistan to get that capability, basically to counter India's capability. So if you see it from that point of view, I'm sure you get the correct answer of saying that the question is actually answered in my statement, the two statements that I have made.
I think that's a very short but a very direct point, sir, that you have made. First, Dr. Chilani, and then Veena Sikri will come in. Dr. Chilani, what should India be doing? Do you believe India already could be working at a game plan? Because you're looking at both Xi Jinping and Shahbaz Sharif, that is Islamabad and Beijing right now working in tandem, whether it's about weapons, whether it is about the nuclear arsenal. So Pakistan literally has been even lying about the nuclear arsenal to the world.
Deepti, India is the only country in the world wedged between two nuclear-armed close allies who are both revisionist states. Revisionist states laying claims to sizable but different swaths of Indian territory. Actually, China has little in common with aid-dependent Pakistan, beyond the fact that both are revisionist states not content with their existing frontiers. They're both seeking to expand their frontiers. They do, however, share interest in containing India. And the maxim, my enemy's enemy is my friend, unites China and Pakistan. Their shared objective is containing India. And for China, the appeal of working with Pakistan is heightened by its ability to treat Pakistan as a client rather than as an actual partner. But for India, this China-Pakistan axis imposes increasing costs, including raising the specter of a two-front war in the event conflict breaks out with either of them. Now, for example, if you look at Operation Sindoor, the 3-day military conflict, India and Pakistan were the primary belligerents. But a third power, China, played a pivotal, if indirect, role in this conflict. China was involved not only in supply of advanced weapon systems to Pakistan, it provided real-time satellite reconnaissance data to Pakistan to target Indian sites. So Beijing played a very critical role in assisting Pakistan's targeting of Indian military installations. This is the extent to which China is involved in propping up Pakistan and enhancing its threat to India.
And when you mention this, I will just take a moment before I get in Veena Sikri here to respond to this. What does this worldwide threat assessment report say? We also have excerpts of that, and I'm just requesting our team to put that on our screens because this is for larger clarity. Look at what it says. During the next year, the Pakistani military's top priorities are likely to remain cross-border skirmishes with regional neighbors. Now, who really are these neighbors? India. Rising attacks, it says, Veena Sikri, by Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan and Baloch nationalist militants, counter-terrorism efforts and nuclear modernization. Then it goes on to say something which is very significant here, and General Narasimhan and Dr. Chilani, it says Pakistan regards India as an existential threat, will continue to pursue its military modernization effort, including the development of battlefield nuclear weapons to offset India's conventional military advantage. So, Veena Sikri, this establishes the fact that you have Pakistan that believes that India is an existential threat, unlike India. And it also talks about the military advantage that always India had. So, for all those people, including the US and countries who wanted to hyphenate both India and Pakistan, this is again a grim reminder of the reality.
It is indeed, and I must say that this also makes India's task more difficult. I fully agree that China is enemy number one. There is no doubt about that. From all facts and figures, that is true. But the fact that Pakistan considers India as its existential threat means that the threat from Pakistan is something that we have to always be very, very careful about.
Correct.
And there are 2 points on which we have to take this up very strongly. One, I think we should be much more firm in calling out China on its violation of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, of which it is a signatory, through the clandestine help it is giving to Pakistan on its nuclear weapons program. It is only because of this clandestine help from China that Pakistan is able to grow its nuclear warheads and its nuclear program all the time. I think we must call this out very strongly to the world. Secondly, I think we have to call out much more strongly the threat of terrorism from Pakistan. I think this is a very, very important thing, because very often in this interest of the so-called avoiding a nuclear conflict between India and Pakistan, India is not being allowed to actually neutralize the terrorist threat. It's only this time, on the 7th of May, that we were absolutely unequivocal in smashing all the terrorist headquarters from Muridke, Bhavalpur and other places, of the Jaish-e-Mohammed, Lashkar-e-Taiba and all the other groups. So I think this was something which came as a shock to Pakistan, that we were going to be doing this. They had not expected this at all, but we did it very skillfully, with minimum damage to civilian infrastructure or any other civilians nearby. Now, this calling out of the Pakistan terrorist threat and neutralizing it, this is much more an important factor that we have to go on pursuing. As it is, about 100 terrorists were killed this time, but of course, many more will rise. It's not that it's an end of an effort, it's just the beginning of an effort. So I think this combined, effort that we have to make diplomatically and militarily and otherwise, China calling out China on the NPT, and this is the correct time to start calling them out on that and calling the world's attention to that. How is Pakistan growing its nuclear warheads? How is Pakistan proliferating?
Absolutely.
Why is China helping Pakistan to proliferate? And secondly, we must continue to do everything to neutralize the terrorist threat from Pakistan, which of course means even on our borders and everything like that. But in follow-up of what we've done now,
Oh, yes.
smashing up the Muridke and Bhavalpur and other headquarters. So this effort is something we have to do. The DIA report is really reflecting what we have always known and we've talked about and assessed very clearly. But Pakistan considering India an existential threat means they're going to go crazy about it, especially now they know that both on the Air Force bases on the 10th of May and on the terrorist headquarters, they have been really bested by India. They're going to be, they're going to try something crazy in return. There's no doubt about it.
Oh yes, and because you spoke about terrorists, I'm just taking this liberty to put out on our screens the many instances where again China has been shielding terrorists. And if you look at all these names, remember, these are 5 Pakistan-based Lashkar-e-Toiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists. Now, India wanted to designate them as global terrorists. But this is where, again, China wants to play the spoiler. So, General Narasimhan, when the real problem is not Pakistan, the real problem is China, are we doing enough to tackle that problem? That's point number 1. Point number 2, dealing with a Pakistan, dealing with a China are completely different ball games. And where do the priorities of the West, and especially America, then lie?
Thank you, Hiram. That's a very interesting question. Just take one point from what Ambassador Veena Sikri mentioned of calling out China on this.
Yes.
The whole world knew that China was helping Pakistan. US knew it. Everybody in the world knew that China was helping Pakistan to get this nuclear capability, but they chose not to deal with that particular issue. So it is unlikely that this entire world is going to push for this kind of a responsibility from China. That is point number 1. Point number 2 is the issue of the terrorism coming into play. That is from the OPT2PAC, which was conceived in 1988 to deal with India with 1,000 cuts. That is something which is still going on, and we are facing the brunt of it. Like Ambassador Veena Sikri mentioned, we had dealt with it in a soft manner a little earlier. Now, of course, we are looking at it in delivering a hard blow to the terrorist camps and the terrorist infrastructure. That is the way to deal with that. Now the problem will come up. You will find China on top, which is actually our priority number 1 to deal with as far as security is concerned, which was mentioned by our late defense minister, Mr. George Fernandez in 98, and also the West. So you find that, like Dr. Brahmacharani mentioned, in this recent Op Sindoor, you find the kind of support that Pakistan received from China. Even in the UN Security Council, it is only China who backed Pakistan and nobody else. So the issue that comes up is this China-Pakistan relationship is something that we have to deal with as we get it, in the sense that China-Pakistan relationship will remain strong, and we need to deal with it in that manner. That is point number 1. Point number 2. Point number 3 is Pakistan at the moment still does not have the capability of dealing with it conventionally, and therefore they resort to terrorism. So now we have started tackling terrorism, and we also tackled them conventionally below the nuclear threshold. For the last about 25 to 26 years, we have been given this nuclear blackmail by Pakistan. And this has been called out in the recent Op Sindoor. So you find we are dealing with it, keeping it below the threshold level, raising the punishment to the terrorist camps slowly and steadily. Like, for example, if you take 2016, it was only a cross LOC, trans LOC operations. In 2019, you find Air Force went into Pakistan and did Balakot. Now you find a stronger response coming up. But only thing we need to keep in mind is, as you keep raising the conventional operations level, you also reduce the threshold between nuclear and the conventional operation, that is reducing. So this is aspect that we need to keep in mind. But otherwise, I think we need to deal with Pakistan the way we have been dealing with China. We have to take a different approach at this point in time. I'll come to the third straight question when it comes. I'll come and answer that particular thing.
I'm sure a lot of our viewers would be interested in exactly how to deal with China, because clearly, we've seen Pakistan being pummeled, multiple of its terror bases thwarted there. But Veena Sikri, I think both the gentlemen have made some very interesting points. Now, Pakistan is modernizing its nuclear arsenal, maintaining the security of its nuclear materials and nuclear command and control. Pakistan almost certainly procures WMD applicable goods from foreign suppliers and intermediaries. This is China. We also do know that 81% of its weapons, the arms and ammunitions that come in from Pakistan are from China. Does the world not want to take note of this, Veena Sikri? And does the world even realize the larger threat that Beijing could also impose now?
Look, I think that we have to be very clear. I agree with General Narasimhan that earlier the world had been ignoring this issue of China helping Pakistan nuclear program. But today the geopolitics is changing. America too is considering China as their enemy number one, which was a complete sea change from what it was even a few years ago. So I think we have to, in the case of geopolitics, always look for new friends and new people who will share our opinion on this. And the issue of nuclear non-proliferation is a very important one. For example, we have a non-first use policy on nuclear weapons. Pakistan does not. Now, can't that be imposed also? I mean, this is the kind of thing that we have to go around and talk about and deal with. That Pakistan is getting foreign help from China on their nuclear proliferation. And secondly, they are not even adopting a non-first use. And thirdly, they are going in a big way for tactical nuclear weapons. This is the tactical strikes, and this is a very big danger that is there. And even this time, even in the last 4 days that were there, between 7th and 10th of May, this did come up as a possibility that Pakistan was preparing for. So there are new threats, there are new possibilities which we have to be ready to counter, and this has to be combined, of course, with the military skills on the ground, which I'm absolutely confident of that we do have, combined with diplomatic, talking all across the world. And getting more people to our point of view. We've got even countries like in the Middle East, in Gulf, who really are prepared to see India's point of view now. There's got to be a lot more of that we are doing now. We have 7 teams of senior members of parliament and senior diplomats going all around the world. This is going to have a strong impact. I saw a response from Bahrain today showing that they had excellent discussions there, and many other places of the world as well. So, all this is what we have to keep on at to combine our increasing of our military preparedness with the diplomatic skills. Okay. And at all times remembering that Pakistan, especially with a new field marshal at the helm, who is, absolutely all set to prove something that is not true, but he's all set to prove it. And so he's going to act crazily, and that's going to be really worrisome for us. But isolation globally is an effort that we have to keep on doing, which Pakistan always manages to get around. Right now, they're on the Security Council. They'll be
absolutely
next year. So, it does mean a lot of upgrading of every effort to prove that they are in the wrong. And of course, we've seen that they're facing internal threats. Even China is facing internal threats today. Yes. Their economy is nowhere near it. We do know that even on the Central Military Commission, Xi Jinping does not have the authority that he had earlier. There are a lot of problems even within China. So we don't have to be, shut our eyes to what is going on, but we need to continue our preparedness and our diplomatic a war, as it were, against the many countries of the world to convince them about China and Pakistan and them getting together. China had not got much joy from Pakistan, because you know that in Pakistan, people are killing the Chinese all the time. They can't stand the Chinese superiority the Chinese imposing their will on Pakistan, even in Guadalajara. So it's
Yes,
not that.
and Meena Sikri, because you spoke of this, I was just looking at some data that said that 7 Chinese nationals have been killed in Pakistan also in 2024. And there is also another interesting bit that you've touched upon, but because time is limited, 30 seconds to all of you, as you know, I'll take your closing arguments. See, people have been asking, what is the role of Turkey? Now, we do know that a lot of these WMD programs are likely acquired primarily for supplies in China, sometimes transshipped through Hong Kong, Singapore, Turkey, and the UAE. And recently, Brahmachalani, we also do know that this POK, CPEC extending through the POK in spite of India's very strong objections. I do remember, Dr. Chelani, you and I on Newsnight have multiple times spoken about the fact that condemnation now is not good enough. There needs to be more coming in from different world capitals.
You're right, Deepti. The fact is that Pakistan has long served as a convenient geopolitical pawn for powerful states in the world. We should not forget that the US also played a role in Pakistan's acquisition of nuclear weapons. The US provided diplomatic cover for Pakistan's covert nuclear weapons program, while China supplied the actual blueprints to Pakistan. And even today, despite Operation Sindoor, you've seen how the US administration led by President Trump refuses to even utter a word on cross-border terrorism. Not once has Trump spoken about the core issue that triggered the recent military hostilities. As far as China is concerned, let's be clear. The only way to deal with China is to build counter leverage. Declarations and sending MPs abroad will not do anything. You have to build counter leverage. Taiwan can be convenient. One of several things. For example, we are hesitant to use Tibet to leverage our diplomacy. We are hesitant to have visits from Taiwan or send people from here to Taiwan at the political level. Yeah, unless you don't build counter leverage, you cannot deal with what China is doing. China is doing things with impunity right now. And to make matters worse, we have allowed China to increase its trade surplus with India to such a level that China's trade surplus now exceeds India's total defense spending. In other words, we have given China leverage over us in the economic area, and we have thus actually weakened our position vis-a-vis China.
Okay, Dr. Chilani, I've run out of time, but General Narasimhan, your 20 seconds, sir.
3 things I'll mention in 20 seconds. One is, of course, the combined threat of China and Pakistan, which I was trying to address earlier. We have actually wargamed it for many years now, and I think we have already worked out some kind of a strategy and a plan how to deal with this kind of a threat. That is number one. I don't want to go into the details because time is short. The second is China will remain to be the principal kind of adversary because of 3 things. 1, the indigenization effort that they have done. 2, their economic might. And 3, the military technology absorption that they have gone into. So these are the 3 things that I think we need to do that. And as far as nuclear issues concerned, about which these 2 countries are in hand, please understand the numbers are actually not a main issue here. We need to be capable of, in case of a nuclear threat, we need to be capable of absorbing it and then counter-strike. That is a capability I think that we need to be working stronger. And I don't think anybody in the right mind would use a nuclear weapon in today's scenario.
All right, but counter leverage, I think, is a good point that Dr. Chelani has also raised. General Narasimhan and Veena Sikri, thank you so much for your time and perspective. Look forward to having you back on the show. Let's also get you Newsnight's parting shot now. Now, the US Defense Intelligence Agency, remember, has drawn this battle line where they say that, yes, China is enemy number 1, Pakistan is the dangerous enabler. That is the word. You have China as the enemy number 1 and Pakistan the enabler. Now, this is not a distant threat. What is very clear that this is a clear and a present danger to India's sovereignty, security and future. So what is the question? The question now is, how will India respond? What will New Delhi do next? Diplomacy, deterrence or decisive action? Those are the three options. Diplomacy, deterrence, decisive action. We will watch that story, watch that space. Thank you so much for watching. Good night.